Have you ever wondered how 5 children could simply vanish into thin air? It was a chilly Christmas Eve in 1945, in the quiet town of Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sodder family, a close-knit bunch of 9 children and their parents, were ready to settle down for a night of festive cheer. The Christmas tree twinkled, presents were exchanged, and laughter filled the air. But as the night wore on, their joyful celebration took an unimaginably tragic turn. Their home, a symbol of warmth and safety, was suddenly engulfed in flames. As dawn broke and the ashes cooled, a horrifying truth came to light. 5 of the Sodder children were nowhere to be found. Their parents, along with their 4 other children, escaped the flames. But the other 5? They seemed to have disappeared into the smoke that had once been their home. Authorities were quick to arrive on the scene, sifting through the charred remnants of the Sodder household. After an extensive search, they came to a chilling conclusion. The 5 missing children, they said, had perished in the fire. And yet, no physical evidence was found. No remains. No traces. Just a gaping void where 5 young lives had once been. The Sodders were left to grapple with this heart-wrenching loss. But as they mourned, questions started to gnaw at them. How could 5 children just vanish without a trace? Why were no remains found in the rubble? Could it be that the authorities were wrong? That their children somehow survived that fateful night? This is the unsettling story of the Sodder children, a tale that continues to perplex true crime enthusiasts and amateur detectives alike. It's a tale that delves into the shadows of mystery, the agony of loss, and the relentless pursuit of truth. But could it be possible that the children didn't die in the fire after all? For nearly 4 decades, anyone driving down Route 16 near Fayetteville, West Virginia, could see a billboard bearing the grainy images of 5 children, all dark-haired and solemn-eyed, their names and ages: Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny, 8, Betty, 5, stenciled beneath, along with speculation about what happened to them. Fayetteville was and is a small town, with a main street that doesn't run longer than 100 yards, and rumors always played a larger role in the case than evidence. No one even agreed on whether the children were dead or alive. What everyone knew for certain was this: on the night before Christmas 1945, George and Jenny Sodder and 9 of their 10 children went to sleep. One son was away in the army. Around 1 a.m., a fire broke out. George and Jenny and 4 of their children escaped, but the other 5 were never seen again. George had tried to save them, breaking a window to re-enter the house, slicing a swath of skin from his arm. He could see nothing through the smoke and fire, which had swept through all of the downstairs rooms, living and dining room, kitchen, office, and his and Jenny's bedroom. He took frantic stock of what he knew. 2-year-old Sylvia, whose crib was in their bedroom, was safe outside, as was 17-year-old Marion and 2 sons, 23-year-old John and 16-year-old George Jr., who had fled the upstairs bedroom they shared, singeing their hair on the way out. He figured Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny and Betty still had to be up there, cowering in 2 bedrooms on either end of the hallway, separated by a staircase that was now engulfed in flames. He raced back outside, hoping to reach them through the upstairs windows, but the ladder he always kept propped against the house was strangely missing. An idea struck: he would drive one of his 2 coal trucks up to the house and climb atop it to reach the windows. But even though they'd functioned perfectly the day before, neither would start now. He ransacked his mind for another option. He tried to scoop water from a rain barrel but found it frozen solid. 5 of his children were stuck somewhere inside those great, whipping ropes of smoke. He didn't notice that his arm was slick with blood, that his voice hurt from screaming their names. His daughter Marion sprinted to a neighbor's home to call the Fayetteville Fire Department but couldn't get any operator response. A neighbor who saw the blaze made a call from a nearby tavern, but again no operator responded. Exasperated, the neighbor drove into town and tracked down Fire Chief F.J. Morris, who initiated Fayetteville's version of a fire alarm, a phone tree system whereby one firefighter phoned another, who phoned another. The fire department was only 2.5 miles away, but the crew didn't arrive until 8 a.m., by which point the Sodders' home had been reduced to a smoking pile of ash. George and Jeannie assumed that 5 of their children were dead, but a brief search of the grounds on Christmas Day turned up no trace of remains. Chief Morris suggested that the blaze had been hot enough to completely cremate the bodies. A state police inspector combed the rubble and attributed the fire to faulty wiring. George covered the basement with 5 feet of dirt, intending to preserve the site as a memorial. The coroner's office issued 5 death certificates just before the new year, attributing the causes to fire or suffocation. But the Sodders had begun to wonder if their children were still alive.
George Sodder was born Giorgio Soddu in Tula, Sardinia in 1895, and immigrated to the United States in 1908, when he was 13. An older brother who had accompanied him to Ellis Island immediately returned to Italy, leaving George on his own. He found work on the Pennsylvania railroads, carrying water and supplies to the laborers, and after a few years moved to Smithers, West Virginia. Smart and ambitious, he first worked as a driver and then launched his own trucking company, hauling dirt for construction and later freight and coal. One day he walked into a local store, called the Music Box, and met the owner's daughter, Jenny Cipriani, who had come over from Italy when she was 3. They married and had 10 children between 1923 and 1943, and settled in Fayetteville, West Virginia, an Appalachian town with a small but active Italian immigrant community. The Sodders were, said one county magistrate, one of the most respected middle-class families around. George held strong opinions about everything from business to current events and politics, but was, for some reason, reticent to talk about his youth. He never explained what had happened back in Italy to make him want to leave. The Sodders planted flowers across the space where their house had stood and began to stitch together a series of odd moments leading up to the fire.
In the next chapter, I will explore with you a series of terrifying details that happened before and after this fire. Truly extremely mysterious and attractive. Watch now.